All right, it's time for Putting It on the Glass 6. This is the 6th edition of where I show you my pay statements as a TTS Logistics / Artur Express lessee. I lease this truck. I'm never going to own it. This is simply a lease. It's a Penske lease truck. And these pay statements are my pay statements. This is my journey. It is not going to be the same as yours. Be absolutely sure that you look at the contract to which you are signing and know all of your fixed costs. Be sure you know your truck payment. Be sure you know your insurance payments. Be sure you know your maintenance. These are important things to know. Be sure to look at that fuel surcharge. Your fuel surcharge may be different than mine. Could be on a different grid. These are important things to know. Now, let's talk about it. Coming up.
This week I only had 3 trips. Trip number 1 was from McDonough, Georgia to St. James, Missouri, 691 loaded miles, 86 miles of deadhead for a total of 777 miles. Second trip was from Edwardsville, Illinois to Wilmer, Texas, 672 loaded miles, 125 miles of deadhead, 797 miles total. The third trip was from Wilmer, Texas to Edwardsville, Illinois, 3.6 miles of deadhead, 668 miles loaded for a total of 672 miles. All 3 trips were drop and hook at both ends. Adding up the mileage from the pay statements, we come to 2,372 miles. However, I drove 2,898 miles. That's a difference of 526 miles. That means there's going to be rollover miles on the next pay statement. That 520 miles is where I drove, shut down for a 34, and I won't deliver the load until the next day. This week I only had 2 fill-ups. One was 185 gallons, the other was 85 gallons. Total of 271 gallons for $1,305, which gives us $4.82 per gallon average. This covered 1,956 miles, or 7.2 miles per gallon. Wasn't necessarily that I went slower, because I actually went faster. It was I had lighter loads and flatter terrain. I only fueled twice this week, once at TA in Mount Vernon, Missouri, and the second time at Casey's in McAlester, Oklahoma. This was the least expensive fuel that I could find. Now for the summary page. I had 49 hours of drive time, 57 hours of on-duty and drive time combined. That netted a total of $3,360. Now we're going to add back in the $250 because the $250 is escrows, which is still my money. The $9.20 reimbursement was a toll reimbursement because they mistakenly charged me a toll last week that probably wasn't mine. On the fuel, I had 2,898 miles divided by 7.2 miles per gallon times 4.82 average per gallon gives me a total of $1,940 in fuel costs. So we take that and we minus that from our gross earnings and we come to $1,670 net for week 6. And for total transparency, here are the 2 pages of the pay statements. Please feel free to stop, zoom in, and take a closer look.
All right, that was the 6th edition of Putting It on the Glass. I want to make sure that you take a look at Putting It on the Glass and you see what I'm putting out. This is my journey, not necessarily your journey. Remember, every journey is going to be different. I go home different times than you do. I take more time at home than most people do, but that's because that's what I want to do. I truly want to have eventually a position where I can be home every week, even if it's only for a 34. I value my home time. I miss being at home, and I like being at home. And that's what I'm working towards. And remember, make sure you're enjoying every day at work.